This is day 8, sculpting a commission fashion doll. And I'm going to show you in this tutorial, I am going to be doing her leg. And if you've been following me, you all know about where I'm at with my fashion doll. And what I'm going to do is, I've already started to sculpt her leg. And if you've been watching the videos that I've been putting up, we've had some really bad humidity here in Florida, and I haven't really been able to actually sculpt, but I keep trying. And I'm going to show you what I've started with the leg. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make her leg and her boot. And then I'm going to cook it, and then I'm going to attach it to her torso. I might change on that. I'm not sure. I might sculpt the whole leg and the boot and attach it and cook it then. It really isn't going to matter, I don't think. But I just want to share with you that as you're sculpting, you always have options in with the baking. If you're working with a polymer clay, that you can stage bake as far as every time you cook it, it doesn't change color. Okay, now I wanted to show you this. I think this is kind of an important part. And after experimenting with myself as far as trying to make things a little bit easier for me, is that I found by sculpting a foot and the shoe, when I'm having my brass tubing that's coming straight down into the shoe, and let's see, I have the base. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I think I can do this. Okay, so in other words, her the nail is going to go up into that tubing, and then see how her foot would then sit on the base. I found that by sculpting it from the thigh down to the foot worked a lot better than sculpting the foot up the leg, because the foot, to me, okay, the clay for me will get really soft, and when that happens and I'm working on the rest of the leg, I sometimes might hit it or that. But I wanted to share that with you. And then the other thing, see how I'm saying that when you use a good core, that how your polymer clay will stick to your core, you really do want that, because if it doesn't stick, you're really asking for a lot of trouble as far as trapped air and then cooking it and having your doll crack. Okay, now this is the part that I want to show you. And when I do my sculpture, I always will put my clay like this in my pasta machine, usually on the 5th setting, sometimes 4, very seldom on 3. Okay, it all depends on what it is what part I'm working on. Okay, for the back of the shoe, because it's going to be, the tubing is going to be coming down right in the back of her shoe, I take the clay and I roll it out on my 5th setting, and then I place it over it, and then I cut it kind of like in an angle, because her shoe is going to be a little bit wider down on the bottom. But you know, you're the creator of the shoe, so your shoe can really be any way that you want it. Okay, so I would take that piece, and because I already have my clay on my leg, I've got everything that's really good support for me to work this very delicate area in the shoe, because I want my clay to be really pressed against that tubing, because I want to make sure that she is going to have strong support in that area. Okay, now her shoe, okay, I want it to come out just kind of like if I were to do a little arch, not an arch, but like a little bit of a half moon. So this area right here might be just a little bit thicker, and you probably won't even really notice it. Okay, so I would put a little bit more right in this area. Oops, sorry. Now I've sketched in the shoe part so that we could see on the camera of what it is that I'm talking about. But she's going to have a boot, I believe. Okay, so I would just go ahead and make sure that that clay is pressed up nice and snug against that brass tubing and my epoxy. Now, usually in this area right here, when I really start getting into the detail part of it, then I really have to go in there and smooth that area. You won't be seeing me smooth it here. I'm just wanting to show you how to get, or how I'm getting the shoe in place. Okay, now let me turn it around. Okay, you can see how I'm starting to form the back of her shoe here. Okay, now we have a little hump that comes in this area right here with a foot when we're on a very high heel. And I will get my ankle bones in there a little bit later, but we're just going to get to the structure of the little bit of the foot and the shoe. Because if I put boots, then I won't really have to put the ankles in, but if I decide not to, I'll put the ankles in. Okay, now this is what really helps me out, because if you've watched my tutorial on how I sculpt or how I visualize the shoe, this area right in here kind of goes straight up to the leg. But of course you're going to have that little hump there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, because what I want is I want more of a definition of where her foot is being shaped, but it is going to, how do I want to say it, to where it doesn't look like it's all shoe. You've got a foot and you've got a shoe. I don't know if that made sense, but I'm trying. Okay, now for her toe part, okay, because that right there is her foot, her the top of her foot. There we go. Now, I'm not really concerned with clay getting into the hole of that because I'll go in there with a tool and I will work it out. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to, let me just bring this up just a little bit. There. Okay, now I'm just going to take my clay and I'm going to kind of like let's see if I can do it. I'll make the little mark that I'm going for. Okay. All right, now let's try it. Maybe you'll see it better this way. So I would want it to go and wrap around that tubing. Okay. Do you see how it's starting to form? And I have that definition of the between the foot and where that shoe would be. Okay. So I would just kind of bring this down in it to where how big of a toe to your shoe that you are creating. Okay, and then I would take my clay and I would just kind of bring it up into that back piece. Okay, now see how the bottom is? Okay. And see, I didn't even get it in the hole. But if I did, you can get it out. And I've even had some clay cook in it, and I just take a, you know, like a piece of wire of that and poke it. And honestly, I've never had a problem with that, of it getting in there and getting stuck, and then it won't go into your nail. Now, unless, you know, you didn't pay attention and you got a big clump of clay in there, I guess you could get it out. But you just want to pay attention to those kind of things so that you don't have to run into those little things to where you have to work just a little bit harder. Okay, now for this area right in here, I'm just going to take a little bit more clay. Let's see. See that what makes it so nice is that I have got a nice hard core to my leg, my foot, everything. So this little area in here isn't flimsy with a wire or a foil. I don't have to worry about foil, you know, poking through, showing through. It not being, in other words, it's nice and firm so that I can get the shape that I need to get with that shoe. See how you can, you know, I'm getting it in there a little bit, just work it in there. Okay, oops. Now then, if you wanted to, you could do this, but I don't find it's really necessary. But if you feel like you need a hard surface to work on in the toe, you can take a little bit of your epoxy and you can put a little bit in there and attach it to your foot for the toe. Let that dry, and then you've got a hard surface to work on that if you feel that you need that. I don't really necessarily have to do that at all. Okay, now this area right in here, I would work a little bit more. Okay, then sometimes I will take my foot. See, I can put a lot of pressure on that. But by me putting that epoxy sculpt down that foot, I feel very good about the support in that leg and foot. Okay, now if I were to do a shoe, make sure I'm in the camera. See, if I were to do a shoe, just sketch that in. Come around so that I can see where my definition is going to be between that shoe and the foot. Because if you don't get that right, it's going to look funny. Okay, that's if I were going to do that. So in other words, your foot, okay, is going to come up just a little bit. And then of course I would smooth all of this area out with the foot. But I wanted to show you an easy way, I think, anyways, that is how I create the foot with a shoe. And then if I wanted that, I think I've got a little bit too much on the, too exaggerated there. But you guys will get the idea. Okay. And then all of this would be moved into the shoe. And then if you, for the sole of her shoe, okay, if you're, remember, if you're doing a real high heel, anywhere between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and you'll know what I mean if you've watched my other tutorial about the 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Your weight is going to be in the back of the foot, and then the toe would be up. Okay, let me kind of just press that down. Okay, you see how that shaped up? And then always remember, put a support in that heel. I use toothpicks. You can take your wire, you can put a small amount of epoxy around that wire, put it up in there. Trust me, you want to put support in that heel. I will not do a doll without a support in that heel. Okay, and then this area here, it's like, I'm trying to think how to tell you. It's kind of like a little bit of a half moon. But again, it all depends on just the style of shoe that you want, because the way that shoes are made today, my God, you know, we wouldn't have thought of wearing shoes years ago of how they're making them today. So it's kind of interesting because they don't have to be made a certain way. They can be shaped any way you want, as long as, I guess, you can stand in it. But I've seen some that I don't know how they stand in it. Okay? Now that is how I would do it. And I would smooth this, make this all even. But I wanted you to see that part of how I do the leg, the back of the shoe, the heel, and then the toe. So I'm going to get back to my sculpting, and I'm going to see about how I'm going to design that boot. And hopefully I'm going to be able to show you how I'm going to put leather on these boots. So I will be back and see you soon.